Hello. Today we're going to be doing a lesson on human proportion. People have been studying the proportion of a human face for thousands of years. Pictured here is a drawing by the famous artist Leonardo da Vinci, where he is doing a bit of an analysis about the different parts of the human head. We are going to be doing a simple worksheet, but I say simple, but it's actually deceptively simple. It turns out it's very difficult. The worksheet that we have here shows a human face divided up into 4 quarters. Here's the top quarter, here is the second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. And you will notice that the fourth quarter is divided up into 2 parts. Surrounding our sample face are 8 statements which should all be true of the face that we draw on the left using the same grid marks. So for example, if our head up here falls within the first, second, third, and fourth quarters, that means the head that we draw does too, which means the chin has to touch this bottom line and our head needs to touch the top line. Your goal is to spend the class period looking in the mirrors provided on the tables to draw your face on this side. Now, again, you can use a ruler. You can make sure that your chin hits the same mark as this chin. Or you could really think about it a lot simpler. And I personally like to take the monkey see, monkey do approach. That means if there's 2 eyes here, just make 2 eyes over here. If there's a nose that's in the bottom section of this one, go ahead and draw a nose right roughly at about the same placement over here. Same thing with the mouth. If you know that the mouth needs to be in the top of the fourth quarter, then you're going to make a mouth in the top of the fourth quarter over here. This is provided as an example for a reason, to make your job as an artist a lot easier. Even if you take the monkey see, monkey do approach, it's still going to be quite difficult, and I'll explain why in a moment. I'm going to carefully read through each of the 8 statements so that you can see how it is true about our sample person. So, number 1, the eyes are in the middle of the head. So right now, if this were a football field, there the eyes are right on the 50-yard line. So that means, of course, if we make a head over here, our eyes need to be right in the middle, right on the 50-yard line. Next, the hair needs to be in the top quarter of the head. Now, the hair doesn't need to occupy the entire top quarter of the head, but it definitely needs to be inside. And of course, if you have bangs, it's going to fall well below the top quarter. Number 3, the nose is in the bottom 3 quarters of the head. So for instance, this nose rests right at the bottom third of the 3 quarters. So there's the nose. So if I made a nose over here, there it would be. Right here, the top of the ears should begin right around the eyes and the eyebrows. See how closely connected those are? And the earlobes tend to end right around where the nose is. So obviously, if we're making our ears way up here, they would be incorrectly placed, and we would need to reevaluate that. Number 5, there is not room for the width of one eye between the eye and the ear. This place is called the temple. So right there, you should not be able to fit the entire width of an eye at your temple. So for example, if I measure the width of this eye with my ruler, this eye is about 3/4 inches wide. So that means I shouldn't have a 3/4 inch space right there. Now next, the space between the eyes is exactly the width of one eye. This little eye down here illustrates that point. So this eye is a reproduction of one of these eyes, and as you can see, the space in between the 2 eyes is exactly the width of one eye. If you want to know how to check your work, you simply measure one eye, then you measure the space between your two eyes. Number 7, the corners of the mouth line up with the center of each eye. So as you can see, the corners of your mouth should be in keeping with the center of the eyes. So your mouth shouldn't go way out to here, and it shouldn't fall well inside of the center of the eyes. And the last statement is the mouth is in the top of the bottom quarter of the head. So as you can see here, this fourth quarter is divided into two. Your mouth goes in the top quarter, your chin goes in the bottom of that quarter. When you begin drawing your picture, start out with what you know to be true. You can either start out, you know your chin is going to be right there, so you could just go ahead and draw a chin. You know that the top of your head is going to hit this line, so you could go ahead and draw the top of your head. You also know that your eyes are going to be on the 50-yard line right in the middle, so you could also begin drawing your eyes right on that line. Sometimes starting gets a little difficult, so if you're going to start drawing your face, just start with one of these things. Start with your chin, start with the top of your head, start with your eyes, and move out from there. Another important piece of advice is to draw lightly. Be prepared to erase any of the marks that you draw. If you started by drawing the eyes above the halfway mark, even if they're rendered perfectly with beautifully drawn eyelashes, you would have to erase it because it's not in the right place. Again, use the other drawing as a guide for where to place your features. And again, draw lightly. Erasing is not a sign of making a mistake. It's a sign of trying to get things right. So be prepared to move those features around. If you feel like you've finished and you've done a good job, start reading these statements and make sure that these are true. So for example, step 1, my eyes are in the middle of my head. That's true. My hair is in the top quarter. That's true. My nose is in the bottom 3/4. That's true. My ears are between my eyebrows and my nose. True again. There is not room for an eye at my temples. True. There is room for an eye between my eyes. Uh-oh. I've got room for 2 eyes between my eyes. I've got some erasing to do. When your drawing is completed and you've been able to check off every single box, you're welcome to show it to me, and then we will move on to the second step. Thank you. Hope you enjoy this activity.